Hello everyone and welcome back to Steel Force Welding and Forge. Today I'm going to show you lucky folks how to make an alternative swage block out of a piece of tubing. I'm going to be using this in the near future to hand forge a skillet to kind of improve my blacksmithing skills. So I'm going to walk you guys through how I turn this into an alternative swage block. The inside of our tube's dimension is 7 5/8. Slightly over, so I'm going to mark it at 7 5/8 on the dot. Now, because the inside of this tube is just slightly under 7 5/8, or over I should say, I cut this at slightly under 7 5/8, it's still not going to fit. And that's just because of the nature of this part here. That's in a straight line from here to here. Because this part flares out, obviously it's not going to fit. So I'm going to go ahead and knock these edges down here with a grinder until it does. Almost, not quite. We are very close right there. One more to go. And there we are, just starting to fit. Give that a little tap, and that's going to fit right in there. I'm going to go ahead and grind the second one down off camera. No reason to bore you guys with that. Now that both of these parts fit into this tube, I'm going to go and do some prep work on this tube. There's a pretty nasty burr on the outside. I knocked that down. I'm also going to take off some of this mill scale all the way around because I'm going to be welding a ring to the outside of this tube to enforce it. I'm also going to knock down some of the mill scale on the inside of this tube where these tubes are going to be going. I'm going to go and do that right now. Goggles. Now move on to the wire brush on the inside of the tube. So I've determined to use this at the top of my tube. On both sides, this is the square side. Now I'm going to remove that inside lip. If I'm pounding steel down on the inside of this lip, I do not want a sharp edge there. If I have that, there is a chance I will actually cut my steel instead of forming it. So I'm going to do this with a two-step process. First, I'm going to use a grinder, and I'm going to put a 45-degree grind on these parts. You can see there I got a decent 45 on there. Now what I'm going to do is on the top and bottom edge of that 45, I'm going to go over it again with the grinder. But I'm not going to go over it as many times, only half as many times. Here's the bottom half. Now, as you can see, I've got a nice radius on there. Now at the last step, I'm going to use a Dynafile or belt sander. This is going to give me a really nice, even curve. So the Dynafile. Before I start, as you can see on a Dynafile, you kind of have this spot here between the wheel and this pad. When you hit a part right there, it tends to put a natural rounded edge. So I'm going to use that to clean up this edge here. now as you look at that, got a nice rounded radius there with no sharp edges at all. I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to hit the outside edge with this and the inside and outside edge here just to take off any burrs, so I don't have to worry about cutting my hands up. Good. Good. The sharp edges are mostly gone. Now to finish it off, to give it a real smooth feel, you can use one of these scouring pads. This will help just kind of knock down that last little bit of any potential burrs you may have. And there you go, nice and smooth. Or, as my 7th grade woodshop teacher would say, slicker than snot on a doorknob. So next, it's going to be putting these pieces roughly in the middle of this tube, and they're going to be in an X pattern. This is going to help add rigidity, so when I'm pounding on this guy, these edges don't slowly cave in. Now, I don't want to put this all the way at the top, because if I do, I won't be able to pound down with my part, but I also don't want to put it down here on the bottom, since all the flaring action is going to happen up here. So I'll probably put this down about, I'd probably have this first one about right here, and then I'll put the other one in the opposite direction right below that. So I'm going to go ahead and fit that up. I'm going to tack that up. All right, we're ready for fit up. This side, I think the magic number for this guy is going to be about 4 inches. That's going to put the top of this bar about right there. I do want to have ample room down here to hit something down in case maybe I make some kind of bowl or dish someday. I don't want to be hitting this part, but I also want to have it up high enough, like I said, to help keep this from flaring out. So go ahead and put this in. Oh, look at that, that's beautiful. That fit up. Tap her down a bit. Check your depth. It's about 3 5/8 right there. You can see kind of how far down that is. You know what, I think I changed my mind. I think we're just going to go with that right there. 3 3/8, sorry. Both sides, that's actually fairly even. I'm going to go ahead and tack that now, the TIG welder. This TIG welder is unfortunately kind of loud while it runs because of the fan. Or nice big beefy tacks. This next piece will go on inside at about a 45 angle, directly on top of this one. 45 angle would be perfect? No. I'm going to try to get as close as possible. A bit more of a tight fit. That's okay. So there we go. And we'll do the same on that guy. All right, we're back. The next part of the process is going to be putting this ring on the top, what's going to be the top of this alternative swage block. And what I'm going to have to do is both clamp it on here and somehow make sure it stays flush to the top of this. So I'm going to clamp it and bit by bit go around, clamp it, tack it down, or clamp it to the tube, maybe tap it down against the table, then tack it with a TIG welder. I'm going to do that all the way around. There's going to be a small gap. I'm going to fill that in with just a scrap piece of material. I think what I might have to do is start somewhere like right here and then go around. Somewhere like right here, I'll be able to keep flush the tabletop. Again, the problem is just this ring roller that I have that is just not quite up to my standard of tool making. And please go see my review of the ring roller that I used to make this ring in an earlier video. After some consideration, I did decide to just turn this over so that the supports here were closer towards the top. I just don't see where I had them being able to withstand up to a long continued abuse. So now I'm just going to cut out a little patch right here to fill that in. We're going to keep on welding. Alright, I got this little piece cut to fit this patch here. Again, this was just a piece of scrap I had laying around. I didn't want to cut a brand new piece, or this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and just give this some tapping with the peen on this hammer to kind of help curve it between these two blocks to get it to fit on here a little bit better. Slight curve. Oh, that's almost perfect. A little bit of a gap in there too. That's what you want. See? A little bit of a gap. That way you can center it and you don't have to bevel it. Don't ask me to ever hit something like that and get that perfect radius in it again. Never happened in a million years. But let's just say I did it on purpose and I'm that awesome. I'm just going to go ahead and let this sit right here. I'll tack one corner, then I'll clamp it. This way it'll be sitting flat. So we're going to center those two gaps. Pretty good. Let's see, welding helmet. We'll bring you guys in a little bit closer here. Now this guy isn't clamped or anything, he's just sitting right there. It's going to probably bow out a little bit or warp a little bit out when I attack, but that's okay because I have clamps to put it right back where it needs to go. Biggest thing I'm worried about is making sure this is sitting flat to the tabletop. I'm just going to tack right there on that corner. I'll go ahead and turn it over. It's sitting nice and flush. A clamp on there. Let's tap it if we have to. Good. I'm going to put a tack right on that gap and also where it touches the pipe. Alright. Now it's not going anywhere. Come over to the same on the other side. I'm squeezing these clamps pretty hard. You want to really squish it on there. Alright, there's no gap in the middle, so I don't need to clamp it. I'm going to go ahead and tack it. And I'm going to clamp the bottom. I'm going to tack down here, make sure there's no gap, no big gap down there. I'm going to clamp once right here in the middle too. And there we have it. Reinforced top, going all the way flush all the way across. Now what I'm going to do a series of stitch welds here. Nothing too big, maybe 1/4 inch all the way around. Then a couple of just fusion welds up here. I'll grind down all the welds I have on top of here. Make sure this is nice and smooth, and then we'll be done. Oh, and put some welds in on these guys too. Nothing big. Again, probably just a weld on the top here, and the same on the other sides. One little TIG welding tip too, I'm going to be welding in this direction into my tacks. That way, those tacks will be part of the end of my weld. Right. That's welded all the way around. I'm going to give that a chance to cool off. I'm going to go ahead and tack. I'm going to go ahead and weld in these supports right here. We're just going to do a weld here and a weld on the other side. Nothing on this inside. A little bit hard to reach. That tungsten. You guys heard that pop, hit a big patch of that mill scale and it popped right on my tungsten. Let's see if we can reach those other bad boys way in the back. That is going to be tough. Hammer the filler rod. Now I think I'm just going to do some quick fusion welds to kind of wash in some of these welds up here on top. This surface needs to be fairly flat. I can't have bumps on here. So I don't want to put big welds on. I'm going to grind them off. Because of the nature of the steel, there is a natural bevel on here already. So even after I grind all these down, I'm not going to be grinding out all of my weld. Alright, we're going to let this guy cool off a little bit. There's an awful lot of heat in here. And in this sucker, I can barely hold on to it. And then come back, we're going to clean it up, and I'll show you the finished product. Alright, so we're here for the last part of the video. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to grind down all these weld marks, all these welds on top here. Because I don't want to be, when I'm forging this, I don't want these marks to show up on the bottom of my material that I'm forging. So we're going to knock those down, make everything nice and smooth. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit this ring again with a grinder, make the outside nice and clear. Finish it off with the dynaphile. Get a quick feel of the glove. Not catching my glove anywhere. Now, take that scour pad again. There we go. Pretty solid. Just made a bell. I like that. All right, let's give her a little test. I got a piece of very thin steel here. I'm going to put it over this lip here. Just going to kind of tap it around the edges. We're going to see what happens. Look at that. Kind of see, I can see the outline of that forming. Look at that. Don't feel any bumps. So, looks like this is going to work out pretty well. I'm very happy with this. There you go. There's an alternative Swage block for you. I'm going to be happy with this guy, I think. I can feel around this edge, and I don't feel any working marks from that hammer. So it looks like it's going to be beefy enough to put up at least a bit of a pounding. It's nice and heavy. I don't think it's going to be moving around a whole lot. And feels nice and solid. So I think I'm going to be happy with this. This guy should last me for quite a while. So thank you so much for watching today. If you liked what you saw or if you learned something, please hit that thumbs up button. Please subscribe. Send me a comment too if you have any questions about today's projects or maybe just metalworking in general. And I would really appreciate those thumbs ups and subscriptions because they'll really help get this channel going. Thanks again for watching, guys. Have a great day.